Hey, everybody, this is Perch. In fairness, this question is something I've thought about quite a lot, and especially when new comic companies get formed. For what it's worth, a lot of new comic companies in the last 15 years or so, they get created, and then they take on some investment or debt, depending on how you want to put it. And a lot of that fundraising, that initial kind of money raise in order to get them to the point that they're a comic company, came from an idea of, hey, we're going to put out comics and it's going to be cheap to put out comics, but we're going to get IP. And then this IP of the stuff that's successful is going to get made into movies. And then we'll make all the monies because of movies. And there was a lot of, that was a dream that was sold, and it was sold in always the same kind of way of, hey, it's very cheap to make comics, it's very expensive to make movies, so we'll test these movies out with comics, and then that makes good financial sense for everyone. That's basically how they got done. And so you'd see these comic companies that get $5 to $10 million raised, and sometimes not that much, sometimes like two or three. And a lot of cases, this money was raised with very bad debt terms, or it was angel investment, or it was somebody else's money, or somebody put out a second mortgage on their house, or kind of any number of things that aren't necessarily amazing ways to raise money. Generally, when you raise money, you want to, it's a game of, give away very little equity, keep most of it for yourself, don't go into debt, don't raise, high premium. There's a lot of factors to it. I should do a video just on that one day. But it's not that complicated if you're doing your first round. There's some basic fundamentals to just watch out for. And a lot of comic companies did not. I won't go into why, but I did some landscaping fairly recently, and discovered that a lot of these comic companies have done multiple rounds, have taken on debt on top of investment. So it's like there's just been some bad choices that have been made. We'll put it that way. Anyway, but when you raise money, you want to spend it well because you want it to last as long as humanly possible. Basically, you want to last long enough to get some comics out there, to get some of the readership up, and then ultimately to live that dream of, having someone be a big hit. That's what you want to do. But if you spend your money stupidly, you're basically spending someone else's money, or you're spending this bank that's supposed to be for comics. And one of the stupidest ways that people spend money when raising, when doing a raise and starting a company, is they buy expensive office space. And the logic there is, hey, if we're going to be big Hollywood producers, we need to have big Hollywood office space, and we need to look like we're a big deal, and people are going to live. And that's a very kind of 1980s, very outdated way of thinking. And case in point, look at the Silicon Valley, the real startups that are raising money for AI, or for kind of various patents and different revolutionary software. I have a friend who's doing something with machine learning based on the flexible processing. Anyway, nobody was going to care. But their office is basically the guy's garage, and occasionally take meetings at a local WeWork. That's what he does, and he's basically spending next to zero money on rent because he's trying to build up some IP. And in all reality, nobody cares. The idea of big Hollywood people not taking your company seriously unless you have big, expensive rent is crazy. So I'll read this mail, but, companies that were really, victim of this, a lot of them, you would be surprised how many companies went through like a quarter of their initial investment round just securing, badass office space to look like a big man. Valiant notoriously had this office space. It was just absurdly expensive for no good reason. Now, if you're one of the big two, this makes a little bit more sense because you're established and, people look up to you and all that crap. But even there, it's not a good use of your money, even though you're spending somebody else's money, Papa Disney's or Warner Media's. Still stupid. But the bigger problem with Marvel or DC having the kind of office space they do is that it sends a message to those little guys that they need to compete like that. And it is literally just blowing your money down the drain. So I'll read this mail. It says, regarding the price of comics, I don't know if this is worthy of a video, but why does Marvel pay rent for a Midtown Manhattan office building. I used to work around the corner at 49th and 8th, and I have a pretty good idea what the rent and upkeep on a place like that is. Why don't they move to a why don't they move to a corporate office park in Piscataway? I don't know, New York. Anyway, or Rye Brook. I'm just going to assume those are like cheap suburbs, right? That seems fair. Why not Yonkers? Go all the way to Yonkers. Move in next to Consumer Reports. Go for it. Anyway, why not Bristol? Why not Bristol, Connecticut? You could hang out with ESPN. Why not Stanford? You could take over those WWE buildings. Could they, for that matter, why not, why not St. Louis? Nothing against St. Louis, but I mean, the office space in St. Louis is going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than Manhattan, right? Anyway, it says, couldn't they significantly reduce their overhead that way? Yeah, they could. Now, if you're Marvel, I don't know that they care. I mean, bluntly, it doesn't really matter that they reduce their overhead. They're not paying the bill for it. They've got, Disney and Marvel are going to want to have them upkeep a certain place. At some point, if Disney starts to really struggle, you will see them do things like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just get you out of Manhattan, and congratulations. Your office now either goes out of Burbank or it goes out of Orlando. Take your pick. But we're not having this office space in Manhattan anymore. Now, to do something like that, it would be a combo of, that would be a very, Disney will be losing a lot of money at that point, or it will be spite. Spite seems a little bit more likely, but anyway, it is a waste of money. But like I said before, the dumbest part of all this is for the little companies who think that this is actually important, and they should try and do the same in order to make their comic company successful. That's crazy. It is nothing but damaging for little companies to take what little money they have and blow it on office space. Look, I mean, it's not that complex. You're a comic company, and you've got to get a bunch of comics going to hopefully get a readership to get hooked on your books. So think like Ghost Machine. They're trying to get a bunch of books out. They're trying to get people hooked on those titles so that they have a kind of an ongoing stream of revenue, and they have enough material to actually tempt Hollywood into a pretty big deal. Because it's not that you can't get an option for something with 1 or 2 issues out the gate. It certainly does exist. It's just rare. It's rare because that bubble has popped, if it was ever truly there to begin with. I mean, I believe Bitch Planet did get optioned, and as you've seen, it's a hit series on HBO. No, it is not. Anyway, so don't waste your money with office space. It's the dumbest ass thing in the world. You don't need to look important for people to think you're important. You just need to have good quality content and a readership. I mean, frankly, if I was one of these companies, if I was choosing between, blowing my money on rent or blowing my money on, effective kind of out of the box marketing, I'm picking that second one all day long. So, I mean, should Marvel give up their office space? I mean, in one way, probably they should, if for no other reason than just to send a message to Disney that they're being frugal with their money and they're not going to, just blow it on nonsensical crap. That wouldn't be a bad thing to do. But, like I said, Marvel and DC aren't the small companies. They do have the bankroll to keep funding this stuff. It is a showcase for them. It certainly is a way that people, feel important. But in terms of the comic book industry, I mean, look, in a lot of companies, office space isn't what it used to be. COVID pretty much knocked that one right out there. So, if more and more companies just let people work from home, are doing this virtual thing, they're wrestling with that right now. The idea that a comic company, which by and large employs, freelance contractors to do the bulk of their work, spread out all over the place, what do you need an office for? Certainly, what do you need an office in a very expensive kind of midtown location for? But, what do I know? The Marvel office isn't that nice. For what it's worth, I've been in the Marvel office, and you get this idea that, it must be some kind of opulent thing. You want opulence, by the way. You go down to Beverly Hills and go see, well, I guess Fox moved. They moved out near the airport. But the Fox building in Beverly Hills used to be amazing. The E entertainment back in the back like 15 years ago when E Entertainment was putting out, shows like that Tara Reid show, A Wild on Terra. That's right. That place was fucking amazing. And you know what was even better was the receptionists that they've hired for that place were insane. That's a story for another time. Anyway, Office Space, stupid. And if you're a small company, whatever you do, don't waste your money on that shit. You are just literally opening the window and throwing money out. Nobody is going to care about your office space from Hollywood. That's not going to be what gets you a deal. In fact, in many cases, try to get a deal is in part showing stability. And I guarantee you, if you're a small, relatively unknown company and you're trying to get things going and you're trying to get, your second round of investment, or you're trying to get somebody to kind of buy into your company long term, which is what you want, they're going to look at your rent. They're going to look at your expenses. They're going to look at what you're paying. And they're going to say, well, these people are done with their money. Why should I give them more? Or if I'm going to give them more, I'm going to do it with more strings, more equity, and I'm just going to take more of a cut to, help these guys survive because they're clearly stupid. None of these things you want. Anyway, there you go. It's a video about Office Space. Thanks for listening.